Hey poker peeps, my name is Sky and thanks for joining. In this video, I'm going to show you how to review and learn from your continuation betting hands. We're going to utilize PokerTracker 4 and first go through and find tagged hands from a prior play session. Then we're going to take a look at some of the biggest losing hands from that session and then probably run one or two different filters to look at c-betting opportunities. And for every hand we review, we're going to utilize Flopzilla Pro to assign our opponent a range to help us make some better c-betting decisions on the flop. Alrighty, let's get to it. Okay, it's time to take action on some hand history reviews. So I recommend that you open up PokerTracker 4 as well as Flopzilla Pro to follow along and kind of repeat the things that I do. You know, that's how you're going to get the most out of this video, is actually taking action, right? So you can see PokerTracker 4 open November 3rd, 2019, 700 hands played, positive $24 in profit, positive 32 big blinds per 100 hands. I was actually playing fast fold tables. I was testing out these types of tables. I don't generally play them, but as you can see, I was playing a very nitty style. I was a 12-10 player altogether right here. But this is also a companion episode or a companion video to podcast episode number 266, which was all about doing hand history reviews after your sessions. If you want to listen to that episode, there's a link down below in the show notes page. But when I'm doing hand history reviews, one of the first things I do is I take a look at any tagged hands from that session. Now, as you can see marked, I have two hands here that are tagged with the review tag. But what I'll often do is I'll just filter for the review tag itself. So any hands where I tagged for review, let's see here, one in the EP, big blind none in the small blind, and it looked like two on the button. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go with the very first one here, that ace king offsuit. So when I do my hand history reviews, I always like to have Flopzilla open so that I can assign my opponents a range, because it really is critical. Every time you're up against an opponent, you want to be thinking about their range. It just helps you make better post-flop decisions. So we've got Flopzilla open, and this hand, I open raise. Villain 21 decides to call. Now, looking like a tight aggressive player. Oh, let's see the rest of the action. Okay, so it's just us and Villain 1 right here. They call 30% of the time versus a 2-bet. Let's see what this is. It's a small sample, but let's see what this is specifically in the small blind. Calling the 2-bet, 25%, which is 1 out of 4. Big blind, 1 out of 4 as well. I don't really want to give them a full 25% range. I'd probably rather give them closer to a 15% range. And the reason why is because they're looking to be tight aggressive. They're in the small blind, the worst position at the table right here. So let's give a 2-bet calling. Let's go with 14%. And maybe let's give them 6-5 suited. What's the range if we give them? Okay, let's give them all the suited aces as well right there. People do like to call with those. And because we don't know much about them in general, we're going to say that they are 3-betting this small range. This range, if this is their pre-flop small blind calling range, they hit the board on average with top pair or better and an open-ended or better 31% of the time. So 69% of the time, and then look at that. They fold 67% so far. They seem pretty flop honest versus c-bets. I think they're probably only continuing with top pairs and open-enders like this. But let's see the action. Flop comes down 8-9-5, backdoor flush draw, and 2 overs. That's about all we got. He checks. I hate the fact that I checked behind right here. I think this is a big mistake. He folds a ton. Sure, this maybe hits his calling range a little bit with some pocket pairs, some suited connectors, even some suited aces and stuff hit, but I really think he's folding quite often. All these broadways that didn't hit any kind of good draw, they're quite often folding. I'm getting a lot of his ace-high hands to fold as well, and even if they do continue, my ace-king outkicks his ace-jack, his ace-queen, his ace-deuce, all that kind of stuff. So I think I failed by not making the c-bet right here. The king comes, great, top pair, top kicker, flush draw now. He checks and I bet 40 cents, just trying to get value out of the guy. And then they call, okay. Now the 2 comes on the river, check. I bet 30 cents, so I'm probably just trying to get like really thin value, maybe a pair of 8s or a pair of 5s to call, right? And then they basically raise a ton of money, $15. I mean, my hand is just not good enough to call right here. Now, I I don't know anything about this player. I don't know what they're capable of doing on rivers. I've never seen them bluff a river, especially for such a large sizing. I think this is somebody trying to look mega bluffy, and they actually turned a flush, and they just slow played it by check calling. So I ended up folding, which I'm totally fine with that play. There's no way I'm calling with just a top pair. $15, 1.5 buy-ins at 10 and out. Forget about it right there. Nice try, buddy. Nice try. So that's one of the things I'll do. I'll look always at tagged hands, and we could take the time to look at the jacks or that other hand that was tagged. But let's look at some other ways to go through your hands. Let's remove the tag by selecting it again, and that just removes the tag being filtered for. One of the other things I like to look at is my big losing hands. So let's start on the button right here. My biggest losing is $1.87 or 19 big blinds. 90 cents or 9 big blinds. $1.80. $2.45 with pocket queens, okay. $1.80 and 45 cents. Okay, let's look at that one EP hand with the pocket queens versus the, well, whatever I'm up against, but you can see it's 10 NL, so I lost about 25 big blinds with this hand right here. Bring out, of course, Flopzilla Pro once again. So the pocket queens, we open raise. Of course we do with queens, and then we get a call right here. I don't know squat about villain, but they are in the big blind. Let's give them kind of a wider range. Let's start with 30%. You can often see players calling with this. I mean, they might even call with every single king. They end the action. There's nothing to worry about. They just want to see a flop. Let's go with this right here. Every Broadway that isn't 3-betting as well. Okay, so queen 6-4. Wow, we flopped that top set. Yeah, I'm not going to go through and do a full hand reading exercise. Oh, but before this flop hits, I forgot to look at, they hit with this wide of a range, top pair better and open-ender better, a little bit less than that prior range at 29% of the time. We don't know how often they really fold versus Cbets just yet. Like, we don't have a lot of stats like we do on this player or this player here. But if they are like your average player and they are out of position right now, they're quite often folding without that top pair and without that open-ended or better. So, yes, I love the bet right here. If he has any diamond, especially those big diamonds, he's continuing. King, queen, queen, jack, queen 10 are probably continuing as well. Hey, if he has a set of 6s or a set of 4s, I'm getting loads of value too. So I really like the bet. Okay. The 5 hits complete some straight draws, but on that board, really, is a 7-8 going to call without at least one diamond? That doesn't complete too many draws. I'm not too worried about that. I think I'm still ahead right now. They check. I bet $1.70. Look at that. I'm betting bigger. They called, and I don't know anything about them, but they called on that 3-diamond board. At this point, I don't have a diamond blocker. They could easily have the ace, the king, the jack, the 10 of diamonds, a king queen that's willing to call one more street. If they don't believe I have anything good on the flop, that 5 doesn't change much. They might be calling one big bet again. It would be lovely if they called with just a random diamond or a weaker queen. And they call right there. Wow, look at that. So you can see that pot's $5, $7.60 behind, $9 behind. He's got me covered. So we have 1.5 times pot. It's possible on the right card we could get it all in here. Now the jack hits, no good. And then all of a sudden, an unknown villain comes in for full pot on a 3-flush board, 3 to the straight as well. Sure, pocket jacks could have been unbelieving with the jack of diamonds calling on the flop and turn and then betting this big on the river. I think folding is the right play here. Most players, against an unknown, you can see I only have 2 hands on them. They only have 2 hands on me too, if they even use a HUD. Making this kind of a bet is screaming value. I think they flopped a flush. I really doubt they would be doing this with a queen jack, 2 pair on the river on such a scary board after I bet big on the flop and the turn. I really read this for a flush or better, right? So I fold. Now, I could be totally wrong. This player doesn't show their hand, so we'll never know what they had. But versus an unknown, a full pot-sized river bet, you know, what often happens is players are passive, you know, pre-flop, flop, and turn. When they wake up with aggression on the river, they often have the nuts or near nuts. They have a really strong made hand. And on this board, it's tough, but folding that top set, I think, is the right play here. What a shame, though. What a lovely trips to fold. Bummer. Alrighty, so that's another way I'll look at it, biggest losing hands. Sometimes I'll go through and look for my biggest winning hands as well. $1.30, you know, $9 right here, pocket kings. Ooh, Rivering that quads too. What a lovely hand right there. But one thing, if you played a session with maybe a Cbet focus, like I talked about in the podcast, you're going to want to go through and just look at your C-betting hands or C-betting opportunities to start. So go through more filters, actions and opportunities on the flop opportunities, and then the opportunity to C-bet. There's tons of other different opportunities, opportunity to raise, opportunity to donk bet. All this stuff is here, but we are concerned with C-betting today. Alrighty, so with the opportunity to C-bet, I am lovely. It's super positive right here. This means I was the pre-flop raiser, whether it is I was facing an action, so I was a 3-better right here, 3-bet squeezer, 1 limper, I was an ISO raiser right here. So all these different hands, I was the pre-flop raiser, at least one person called, and I had the opportunity to C-bet, positive $24. Things are looking really good here. Let's see, I had already lined out a hand. That's right, I wanted to look at this ace-king hand right here. So you can see it, lovely ace-king. The second ace-king we're reviewing. The other one was a losing hand. This one is a winning hand today. Or not today, this time. Open raise, coming for the 10 big blind 3-bet. I love it right here. Even though he's relatively unknown, he's looking loose aggressive, making an under-the-gun raise. Could be a steal with plenty of weaker aces, weaker broadways, tiny pairs that they're folding. And if we get him to fold at 3 big blinds, great. We pick up 4.5 big blinds for a simple 3-bet. Don't mind him folding at all here. He calls. We hit the 3-3-9 board. Hard to hit board, you know, chicken boards like this. Oh, we forgot to give him a range. Well, now, he ended up, let's give him a 10% calling range because he open raised and then called a bet. Now, oftentimes players open raise and then call. Let's not say jacks. Let's say jacks will 4-bet right here. These will 4-bet as well. Let's put this in a calling range, actually. Let's say he calls with the suited broadways. Let's give him a couple other suited connector calling hands for calling my 3-bet. So it's a much smaller range, 12%. This range hits top pair better. Open-enders, 30% of the time. So if they're continuing on the flop, 30%, right? But on that 3-3-9 board, let's take a look at what they hit here. The suits don't really matter. Now, only 17% do they have that top pair or better. Flush draw is possible, but no open-enders, right? This is one of those hard-to-hit boards, so this is a must. I did not hit anything. I've got to C-bet bluff at this one. Let's hope I do. Gosh darn, once again, I'm failing to C-bet bluff with the ace-king on a hard-to-hit board, a spot where I should, when I'm in position as well. Darn it, this session, 2 failures now. But that's good. Top pair, top kicker now. Couple of different draws, flush draw diamond, flush draw spades right now. Bets $1.07, and I passively just call this. Maybe I don't know why I'm just playing this one passively. I'm not a big fan of this. I just hit a really strong hand, but if I raise, maybe they can give me value with an ace-10 and an ace-jack, which they do have some of those in their range, as you can see. So I think I possibly missed out on value right now. Don't like that. Ace-king 2-pair, but the flush completed as well. And now, oh, look at that. So half pot on the turn, I call. 3/4 pot on the river. The bigger their bets on the later the street or raises, of course, mean a lot of strength. 3/4 pot, upping it on this river. I think this was the time to just call right here. I am beat by flushes. I am beat by trips that just checked on the flop, hoping I would bet, right? Pocket nines for a flop full house. I mean, there's a lot of things in his range right now. Actually, he can't have trip threes, my bad. He can have quads, I guess, on this board. So, like, really, I think calling is the best play right here. My hand is too strong, and he has those weaker aces, ace-10, ace-jack, ace-queen in his range that he couldn't be making this bet with. So, I do like the call right here. Pre-flop, I like the 3-bet. River, I like the call. Flop and turn, I don't like those plays at all. Oh, nice. Ended up with the 10-8 suited. So, interesting. This is really interesting to note, cash. This was under the gun. Under the gun, open, call, 10 big blinds out of position with 10-8 suited. Now, what this means is I should be 3-betting a very wide range. Ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack, ace-10. If he's able to call with hands like this, and then able to bluff on rivers like this as well, it's pretty good. Maybe make that note as well. With turn flush draw, bet 3/4, not bet, bluffed river, 3/4 pot. Good, good. And I am going to put this player for sure under the loose aggressive. They're capable of making turn and river bets like this, and then open raising and then calling with this. They're a loose aggressive player for sure. Alrighty, well, thank you very much for watching this video, and I highly recommend that you take action and start doing your own hand history reviews. Look at tagged hands, look at the biggest losers, the biggest winners, and then start going through and filtering in your database for specific situations. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, click on this one right here. It's an 11-minute video where I take you through PokerTracker 4 so that we can review every single hand within one tournament that I played. By doing this, you can find all your mistakes, all your missed opportunities, so that you can work to become a better tournament player, one tournament at a time. I'll see you there.